Yo, welcome back. Or, I'm back. It's been about 2 weeks since posted a video of that 5.3 with the messed up 243s that I only bought that for the heads. But anyways, I haven't really had any content to post or make until now because some people have contacted me since the last video and gave me ideas of something I need to make because I've gained a lot more subscribers since the last time I made a video kind of going over this. But I'm going to try to combine a bunch of my older videos into one with this one and explain once again, if you're a beginner, just my personal opinion on what route you should take if you're going to do an LS swap. So this is strictly for beginners, like I've mentioned nearly every video. If you've done an LS swap already, this isn't for you because you probably have already calculated how much you've spent and kind of what it costs to do an LS swap. If you're paying somebody to do an LS swap, oh my god, I can't explain this enough. If you are paying somebody to do an LS swap, my arm. If you're paying somebody to do an LS swap, I don't understand where you guys get the assumption that you can do it cheap if you're paying somebody, unless they're doing it for free. There's no, just what you're going to spend in labor, that's already killed the idea of doing it cheap. If you contact me, like I get a lot of people contacting me from YouTube. Obviously, here on YouTube, on my channel, I try to show you guys the cheapest route to do an LS swap. That doesn't mean if you contact me, I'm going to do it for free so that you can get a cheap LS swap done. I don't know where that thought process comes in. But let me show you what I got out. Obviously, the CUDA is always the best example because it's what I got here sitting in front of my face to show you guys. We got engines here. Now, if you're new or you're kind of just catching up with the channel, I specifically stick with Gen 3 LS based engines, always truck motors, truck or SUV engines. I don't care for the aluminum block engines, which would be your LS1, LS2, Gen 3, and then 05, 06, 07, you got GMC Envoys that are the L33 and they're aluminum block and blah, blah, blah. It can get pretty technical, but here I try not to get too technical because I speak for beginners. Keep it simple. All right? Okay, now that I made that clear. By keep it simple, I mean don't be like, oh, I want an LS3, because that's what I've seen on social media or TV. What do you need? Do you need an LS3? I mean, if you're going to be drag racing, sure. Or are you going to be one of those people that social media's got you all hyped up on the let's go race some strangers at every stoplight because I need to feel cool? I hate that. I don't understand. Social media has ruined the car scene. But if you want to do that, do whatever you want, bro. Just leave me out of it. But here we got a Gen 360, a Gen 360, a Gen 353. In the corner over there, Gen 353. That one over there is going in the Monte Carlo in the back, which should be about 2 months from now. Get started. Waiting on some money because people talk to me about bringing me their stuff to work on, and then I never hear from them again. So this is where we're at. Gen 3. Why Gen 3? Because it is the oldest version of the LS, so it's the cheapest to an extent. It's very dependent on where you live. These 6.0s, so this 6.0 right here, I'm into it for $550. If I wanted, I could easily double my money on that here in Texas. The prices are insane for 6.0s. 5.3s are kind of getting there. I paid $300 for that one, but it came with a set of 243 heads, in which, if you go back to the previous video, one of the heads needs new valves. So to an extent, I made my money back because it's worth the parts I need off of it too. Now, CUDA. It's been posted 8 trillion times. I'm into this swap around $2,500. The fuel system most times is the more expensive part. You can go with an external fuel pump. Walbro is the typical go-to. I think I have one in here somewhere, but no need to waste a bunch of time trying to find it. So if you really want to do it cheap, you get you an external fuel pump that is stupid loud but will work. You get the external fuel pump, you mount it where you're supposed to mount it, which is typically below the gas tank because it's gravity fed and they're not good at pulling. Then you get your Corvette fuel filter regulator, and that'll regulate it to 58 psi on its way here. And then that's your fuel system. You can get in-tank pumps, but you got to do your own research on that, because if you contact me asking me, hey, what fuel setup do you think is best for my car? Unless you're going to pay me, just Google. Google is your best friend. Gen 3, I mean, they're stupid simple. Yeah, they have lifter and cam issues, but not as bad as Gen 4 and definitely not as bad as Gen 5. So most of the time, I take my chances on these used engines. I know I pulled one out. On these used engines, because for the most part, they are good used engines with no cam issues. That 6.0 right there, I got from a guy, and the cam was toast. So, I mean, I'm just going to find another stock cam and put into it. The biggest thing with me and this channel and you guys is you either come from the old school engine world where you got carbon engines, and it's easy to stick a cam in those because you don't need to tune the carburetor. It's the same with LS. If you cam a carbed LS, it's the carburetor is what you mess with when you stick that cam in. It's completely different for EFI. EFI, you're not just gonna throw a Truck Norris cam in, or sloppy stage 2, or whatever stage 2, stage 3 cam you see online. You have to tune the computer before that engine will run correctly. There's a lot of misconception that if you throw a Truck Norris cam in there, you don't need springs, which is correct to an extent. That's kind of depends on the person, but you don't need a different torque converter. But then you have the misconception that you don't need to tune it. If you take an engine and you put an aftermarket cam into it, you have to tune it with EFI. If you have EFI, there's no going around it. You have to tune it before you try to get it to run. If you're able to get it run, which it's usually the smaller lift cams like the Truck Norris and whatnot, it's going to run horribly. It's going to foul your plugs, and it could possibly foul your O2 sensors if you're able to let it run long enough, because it's starving for fuel and oxygen and air because it's not tuned. So my recommendation, as I've stated before, on your first swap, just leave it alone. Replace whatever you feel you need to replace. Don't be one of those people that you go get a cheap 5.3 or a cheap 4.8 and you tear it all the way down and you send it to the machine shop and you get it completely. You spend $3,000 getting it rebuilt. What's the point of that? You might as well just get one already rebuilt, shipped to you for like $3,500. Don't be that guy, because you're gonna open this up and you're gonna be like, oh, those cam bearings, I don't know about those. They're fine. Leave them alone. If you pull the cam out and your cam bearings don't come with the cam, leave them alone. Because next you're gonna be on Facebook asking why you have bad oil pressure because you installed your own cam bearings and you didn't line up the galley plug holes correctly. Ask me how I know this stuff, because I'm on Facebook seeing crazy posts of stuff that would never happen if you just kept it simple. Now, once you do your Gen 3 swap, or once you do your swap, and you've got it under your belt and you know the ins and outs, Then build you an engine on the side that's cam it, heads, whatever. Get your LS3, and then stick it in on a weekend after you've enjoyed your swap that was a pain to do in the first place because you're new and you're just trying to figure it out. Gen 3, once again, especially if you live up north, I've seen that 6.0s, you can still get them for stupid cheap. The 6.0 is, I would say, the best engine in the Gen 3 world that you can build, or the LS2, that you can build naturally aspirated. You take an LQ4 or an LQ9, you cam it, and you get a good tune, and you'll push 500 to the crank. That's for a car you're just driving. That's very good. A 4.8, 5.3, they are not going to be engines you make good naturally aspirated horsepower with, unless you're okay with like 375, 400 to the crank. That's not bad either, but you're not going to hit 500 naturally aspirated unless you stroke it and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Boost, of course. That's how this all started. Get one of these junkers, slap it in, slap a turbo on it, hit the road. 6.0s, same thing. Throw some boost on it, make even better. Gen 3 6.0s, they are 4-inch bore, as where anything less than a 6.0, so your 5.7, 5.3, 4.8, those are not 4-inch bores. So another good thing about the Gen 3 6.0 is you can take LS3 heads and bolt them right onto the 6.0 and then put an LS3 intake on it, and then to an extent you have an iron block LS3. So there you go. There's your cheap poor man's LS3. But for me, and what I'm really trying to explain to y'all is get you the cheapest engine you can find. If you're one of those people, you're hesitant because it's used, then go find one that's already in the vehicle and already running. Even if that means you got to buy a whole vehicle for $3,000, $3,500, and it already runs and drives. You just pull the engine transmission out of it because you test drove it. You know there's nothing wrong with it. You need that peace of mind, and then you slap it in. I strongly recommend doing an Amazon or eBay harness. I've used only 2 swaps on my channel have used something other than an Amazon harness. There's absolutely nothing wrong with them. You literally just go through my videos, and anything you need when it comes to hooking up an Amazon harness, hooking up the ECU, hooking up the brake switch for the torque converter and the 4-speed automatic LS-based transmissions, please go back through my YouTube channel before, if you message me. You're more than welcome to message me, but please just check out my videos first and hit up Google. Google is your friend. So we got Amazon harness, we got cheap Gen 3 engine, we got Amazon harness. I get my ECUs from eBay, as I've explained many times. You go to eBay, you type in LS swap ECU. They'll come up right there in front of you. You find the one that matches your harness, which is this drive-by cable throttle body. So my harness is drive-by cable, my ECU is set up for drive-by cable, and then I obviously have a drive-by cable throttle body. If you're going to run drive-by-wire, you need a harness set up for drive-by-wire and a computer set up for drive-by-wire. Drive-by cable, highly recommend. Simple, much easier, no start issues, or figuring out no start issues and just running in general. Keep it nice and simple, cheap, $20 Amazon throttle cable hooked up to your factory pedal. Bam, done. Drive-by-wire, not as simple. You have a separate computer for the drive-by-wire, and then you got to have a drive-by-wire pedal, so you got to mount that, figure that out. Drive-by cable, slap it in, hook your cable up to your pedal and go. Amazon spark plug wires, so I always use cheap Chinese-ish headers, and I use those 45-degree angle plugs from Amazon. They're not as cheap as they used to be, of course, because they got popular, but those are $75. That's really it. Fuel pump, like I said, you can get you an external one and make it simple. You can do a firewall mounted regulator if you don't want to use the Corvette fuel filter regulator. That's it. I know this video might be hard to watch just because it's all talking, but I get so many messages, Instagram and Facebook, or I get some through emails of almost nearly the same questions asked. A lot of people, I appreciate you guys that have contacted me and said, hey, how much for you to help me with my swap issues? Appreciate it. It's $100. It's a consultation fee. You get me for however long you need me, through diagnosing why your swap won't run, or to help you through your swap and getting it put in and going, and giving you ideas for which parts to use, which route to go. If you contact me, I don't mind you contacting me like here and there, just a quick question. I'm not trying to be an a-hole in charge for questions. It's just a lot of times I get people contacting me. It's they need me day and night, or 24/7, 365, and it's just like, look, Google. I don't mind helping here and there for free, but if you need me, send me a Benjamin. That's all I'm saying. I don't mean to be so repetitive. Just find you a dirt cheap engine, make sure it turns over. Maybe at the absolute least, pull the cam out, or however you can see the cam. Usually I pull out the valley tray where the knock sensors go. It's hot out here. I'm starting to, my mind's getting all boiled up. Usually I just pull this bad boy off and you can see the back of the cam and the front of the cam. Usually cams I see that are messed up, it's the back. But you can pull that out real quick, because I always recommend changing the oil pump anyways. Change the oil pump and the pickup ring. I use a Melling oil pump from Amazon. It's $75. I've used that in every single swap I've done. No issues. So cooling system before I go. You guys all, if you still come from the old school world, overheating is probably one of the biggest issues with old school engines, and driving in the summertime or anytime the ambient temp is up there. LS's are amazing when it comes to cooling, because the internal cooling system built in works very, 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 very well. If you have overheating issues on an LS and you have no issues with the water pump or the thermostat or the radiator, of course, 9 times out of 10 you have air in the heads, and you got to get those air pockets out. What I do is takes a little bit longer, but I'll take the radiator cap off. Ooh, that's hot. Take the radiator cap off, and I'll sit here and just rev it and let it all circulate, and let the bubbles really circulate through the radiator. And I've had success with that. Another way is I'll crack the coolant crossover ports right here in the front. I'll crack those open, or just take the whole coolant crossover off, and I'll let it run and idle. And you'll get air and coolant that'll come out of those. And you want it to get to the point where it's a constant flow of just coolant. Basically like bleeding the brakes, really. If you see air bubbles, that's a good sign. If you see straight coolant, that's a good sign too. But I would let it sit there and idle for a minute, and really give it some time to push the air through the system. There's the other one where you jack up the front of the car and you fill it up through the upper radiator hose. I've never had to do that. The 2 ways I just told you are the ways I've done it. But like I said, Google too, because a lot of other people have done LS swaps and figured these things out. So don't be afraid to use Google. Oh, but what I was saying is, cheap aluminum radiator. It's not that big of a deal. Most Gen 3 vehicles from the factory, they use a 1-core radiator anyways. So don't assume you need the biggest, baddest radiator with the biggest fans and big old fan shroud, because that's not true when it comes to LS swaps. Just get you a radiator that fits and works. Aluminum, of course, that's my preference. And a fan that works, and you're good to go. I've been running this whole setup right here in this insane Texas heat for almost 3 years now, and the cooling system runs perfectly. It's 181 to 183 while driving. Of course, sitting and idling, it goes up, but I've maybe idled in a drive-through line at Burger King for like 20 minutes, and I've hit about 200 degrees. But as soon as I start driving, it drops all the way back down to 183. So just something to let you know about. But your money, your project, you spend whatever you want on whatever you want. I'm just trying to help you out. But if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. So that'll give me more ideas for videos. I more so need to just get a bundle of questions together rather than trying to make a video per each question. Because like I said, I don't want to just be making random videos for my analytics to stay up. I really don't care too much about that. The best way to help me is watch the videos, watch them all the way through. I know it's hard because I'm not entertaining. I'm a yapper, mayor of Yap Town over here. You gotta watch, you gotta like, and you gotta subscribe. Those two bad boys, they get me in the algorithm. You know, they'll put me out there into the world, and then more people click on me, and they'll be like, God damn, this dude yaps. But, anyways, that's about it. No need to make this any longer than it already is. So like, subscribe, comment, and watch me. Watch the video all the way through. Even if you just look away, just listen to me. I know I'm not the best thing to look at, but appreciate you watching. Monte Carlo's coming soon. I actually got headers for it already. If you ask me what headers they are, just wait. You figure it out. Ask your mom. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you if I get enough questions on, well, if I just get questions in general that are worth making a video about. But I'll see y'all next time. In the meantime, you know the deal. Go build something.